So I'm not expecting you to explain the stock market and why it's shrugging off this news, but the lead story in the Journal is that both parties are waiting for pain, and that could be from people missing paychecks, could be from layoffs. Who's talking? I know you spoke to Thune, didn't you, to Majority Leader Thune?
We've spoken to them all. They're not talking at all right now. And I'll be honest with you. I think today will be a big moment for this process. I mean, every day is a big moment, almost a week into a shutdown. But I'll say this, Joe. When we were talking to Senate Democrats last week, they said we could hold everybody for the week, last week that is, but Monday, today, it gets more difficult. And why does it get more difficult? Because it's very clear that Republicans feel extraordinarily comfortable in their negotiating position, which is we are happy to talk about the Obamacare premium subsidies, those tax credits that are going to expire at the end of the year. But we, Republicans, are not going to do that during a government shutdown, which is, by the way, the position that Democrats, for the most part, had taken in previous shutdowns. But a lot of things are going to happen this week. I mean, there are potentially paychecks that will be missed. WIC, the key nutrition program for women, infants, and children, hence the initials, is going to run out of money midweek. That is going to be an incredibly difficult thing for people who rely on those programs. So, I mean, listen, you need another five Senate Democrats to fold in order to break this. And I can tell you this, I don't think Chuck Schumer is going to fold. I don't think we're going to see a moment where Chuck Schumer says, okay, I've had enough, and we're going to reopen the government. I don't think that's going to happen. So it all comes down to getting 5 Democrats to break ranks. And I mean, last week we saw Democrats say, well, listen, we need to have some sort of agreement that will take up these Obamacare subsidies. We're not going to see that. So it'll drag on into another week.
Hey, Jake, just on that point, you don't think Schumer's going to fold? If he loses his party because 5 or more Democrats say, forget it, we're not doing this anymore, what does that mean for his future?
It's a good question, Becky. I think it means in the immediate that he will be weakened a little bit. I think there's no question about that. I don't think his leadership is in doubt. And a lot of people are focusing, I think I said this last week to you guys, a lot of people are focusing on the fact that, he's afraid of AOC, he's afraid of a primary challenger. I'm not completely convinced that Chuck Schumer's going to run again in 2028. So I don't think that's what's motivating him necessarily. I think this is where the Democratic Party is. They have very few levers to fight with Donald Trump, and this is one of the levers that they have.
But Jake, is this a winning lever? That's the question. The question is this lever? No, do you think that Democrats look at what's happening here and say to themselves, "Go Democrats, give them hell. This is great. I'm backing them because they're really doing this," or what?
I think some of them are, Andrew, but I think let me make this point. At some point in the next couple of days, Democrats are going to have to ask themselves if the juice is worth the squeeze, because the Trump administration is, as the Obama administration did back in 2013, although not to the same level, but the Trump administration is going to make this increasingly painful. And we've seen that. We've seen frozen transit projects in New York and in Chicago. And I expect we're going to see more and more of that as time goes on. And it's only going to get more drastic by the Trump administration, meaning they by law could restructure agencies. They can cause irreversible changes to some of these agencies. And I think at some point you have to say, listen, Republicans, I would assume that they're going to say Republicans aren't going to have this conversation now. The damage they're inflicting is enough. It's too damaging. It's too much. And we need to go back to the drawing board. Because, by the way, let me just flip this coin a little bit. If premiums go up by 100 or 200%, health insurance premiums, that is not going to be on Democrats. That is going to be on Republicans. And so Republicans, many of them, are incentivized to figure out how, if to extend this COVID era tax credit, and to what extent they want to do it. And I think that's what you're going to see between now and the end of the year. And by the way, that doesn't mean that premiums aren't going to go up. They likely are going to go up. This needs to get done by now or by a couple of weeks from now. So I think that's what you're going to see in the next couple of weeks, is Democrats really ask if the juice is worth the squeeze.
There's been, I don't know whether that's true either. You can get the squeeze orange juice. You're going to get it with pulp. You can get it without pulp. It is a pain. It's not worth it. I don't think they still sell those things where you squeeze and you get it. Do you think it's worth it? I don't think it. I'd just rather, just buy it off the shelf.
But Joe, let me make a point here. I think Democrats are not going to win the shutdown fight. There's no question about it. But with Republicans controlling all levers of government, I don't find any compelling argument that if premiums go up a ton on people, that Republicans aren't going to shoulder some of the blame. I just don't think that's realistic.
I know. There's a great piece in the Journal today which outlines exactly what we're talking about, outlines exactly what was in the OBB for Medicaid cuts, exactly how much
but this
we
has
were
nothing
spending.
to do with the OBB. This is a separate issue.
It has to do with what was cut in Medicaid in the OBB. A lot of that is they're attempting to reverse a lot of those cuts in the OBB.
Yes, that is true.
They aren't huge cuts. When it was done, a lot of the more fiscal hawks said, you're barely touching this. You're only hurting the growth. The COVID era pandemic credits, this thing's imploding on its own. It has nothing to do with what Republicans did with the OBB and not extending the tax credits.
You're absolutely right. It has nothing to do with the OBB.
And the big problem is that a lot of these Republicans are waffling already. And I'm wondering what kind of deal they're willing to start talking about. I think some of them are wimpy enough to start giving guarantees that we will implicitly do something before November 1st or whenever it is on the Obamacare. And other Republicans are saying, don't you dare, because it was hard to get any of these cost cuts. And they're not, they're not draconian at all. The media is painting them out to be, but
they're not draconian. I'm not suggesting. But there are two issues here. There's the COVID era Obama subsidies, which were put into place during COVID, and there's the cuts to the OBB. They're not going to get cuts to. They're not going to be able to reverse the cuts to the OBB. But the cuts, the tax credits as part of Obamacare that were enhanced during COVID, completely separate issue, nothing to do with the OBBB. And there are a bunch of Republicans, both conservatives, moderates, across the spectrum, that say those should be extended. I think it's going to be an incredibly difficult thing to extend them in no matter what the context is.
A lot of them are for people making how much money? $130,000?
They're not means tested, which Republicans want to do. Right.
I mean, you can't do anything to try to slow things down. I've just seen a lot of articles written that say the writing's on the wall. J.D. Vance talks tough out of one side of his mouth, and the next thing you know, you start hearing, a certain, faction in the Republican Party look like they're so worried about the midterms that they're willing to give on this. I don't know, but Democrats aren't going to get a guarantee that they're willing to give on it. That's the thing.
No, they're not. They're definitely not.
They won't get a guarantee. They'll reopen it. And then the Republicans, after winning, they're probably wimpy enough to give Democrats what they want because they're worried about the midterms. That's probably how this all plays out. It's just pathetic.
Well, there are Republicans who are worried about their own constituents losing their health care.
I know. Well, we got to fix, it's going to take a lot more than extending these Obama-era super subsidies. It'll take a lot more than that to get things working properly, where we don't, if the way things are going, Jake, the numbers they use today for what we're going to add to the deficit now on the track we're on between now and 2035, it's like twice what we thought.
There's also a problem.
Remember, these guys don't think like that.
Practices.
What's that?
They don't think like that. They think about 2026, not 2035. That's I'm not trying to be glib, but that's what they're thinking about. They're thinking about their constituents who are going to be burning up their phone lines saying, I can't afford my health insurance because of these Biden era enhanced subsidies. And can I win re-election?
There's a word for that.
If people are pissed off at me.